All right. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to remind everybody there are a couple of different ways to find care and help at Bronson. If you want to, snap a picture of this with your cell phone or grab a piece of paper and jot down these phone numbers. But if you're looking for a doctor or for a specialist, you can do that on the web, or you can do that by calling a Bronson Care advisor. If you need help with my chart, there is also a lot of help provided at Bronson. You can get that help by emailing or by calling. It can be daunting to sort of manage that at the beginning. I was nervous about signing up for my chart, and now it's the best thing ever. I go in for all my appointment reminders. You can see your labs before your doctor's office calls you. So I encourage people to sign up for my chart if they haven't already, and you can get information on how to do that there. And also, if you ever need help with your patient bill, here are some phone numbers that you can call. So let's get started. Thank you. Next. Okay, so I like to use the chat, and the chat was that speech bubble at the bottom. I call it a speech bubble, which I don't really think makes sense, but it's at the bottom of your screen, a little square with a little thing hanging on the end of it. And I'd like to know, what is the last meal you've eaten that was made in a slow cooker? Type your answer in the chat. If you can remember, what is the last meal you've eaten that was made in a slow cooker? And Isabel, maybe you can call out what people are saying.
Yeah, we've got roast beef, chicken breast, roasted chicken, tacos, pot roast, pulled pork, chili, roast beef.
Awesome. I like all, yeah. Chili, beef, pot roast. I see them now. Okay, chicken dish, good. Somebody used theirs yesterday. That's great. Boneless chicken breast, a lot of chili. Yeah, great. Okay, well, that's good to know. We're going to talk about some of those types of dishes today. So hang tight, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more next about what those jiggly things are, squiggly lines, if you have never seen them before. So some people know how to use QR codes and some people do not. But if you've ever, well, let me ask this first. Type in the chat if you have ever scanned a QR code before, yes or no. Please re-ask. Okay, somebody said please re-ask. I am asking, have you ever scanned this black sort of dotted thing on the screen that is called a QR code before? Have you ever used this? So I've seen a lot of yeses. So that's good news for today. So we're gonna quickly, for the people that maybe haven't or haven't told us that, go over that. And I see something on the bottom that says pot roast. I'm not sure what that is. Tina, that might have been something you typed by accident, or somehow that got on the screen. I'm not sure.
It's an annotation. I'm trying to figure out how to erase it. I just tried trying to erase it, but it's not allowing me. So
don't worry about it, but ignore the pot roast thing. All right, so let's do a quick scan of this QR code. If you can, scan this QR code with your phone and tell me in the chat what you see, what comes up, because we're going to be using QR codes today. But if you don't know how to use it, or you don't feel like using it, no problem. You're still going to get all the recipes. So somebody do a, yes, pet adoption. Christopher's iPad got on it first. So if you scan our QR code for today, it has nothing to do with crock pots or slow cookers. However, I like to embed a cat or a dog into every presentation. So this was my way of doing it today. You can adopt a cat or a dog at Alvan Humane Society in South Haven. Adopt a cat. How do I scan it? Okay, Jan is saying, how do I scan it? So Jan, what you do is you point your phone to the, like you'd be taking a picture, and maybe you can see me right now. So you have to turn on your camera first. So I'm turning on my camera and I'm holding it in front of the QR code, and then I'm clicking on something that comes up, and on an iPhone, it says website QR code, and it is taking me directly to the pet adoption website. So if you cannot do it, oh, and Angela, I've got somebody typing in, one of my helpers. For those who don't know how, open your camera, point it at the QR code, and then click on the link. Yes, Angela, then that's what it says on the slide. If you can't do it, do not sweat it at all. You're going to be getting these recipes in our follow-up summary sheet. So if you can, fine, and if you can't, that's fine too, no sweat. It says she got it. Good, so we taught somebody something new today. All right, let's keep going. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about what a slow cooker is, how cooking in a slow cooker can be quick and healthy, some advantages of slow cooking, tips for buying, storing, and cleaning. You're going to receive, it says 3 recipes. That is what was in the description, but we actually have a lot more recipes embedded today, and they're also going to be on the summary sheet that you can access after the class. So I don't want people to get yanked or nervous about scanning, because you will get all of these recipes, but if you want to, while we're talking, you can, all of these are live active QR codes, and if you scanned that right now, you would go to the recipe for this dish that you see on the screen. Not mandatory, but you can. Okay. All right, let's keep going. I don't know why it says pot roast, Isabel, but you'll figure it out at some point. So ignore the pot roast. All right. So what's a slow cooker? So let's just do some basics. It's an electric appliance that simmers food at a low temperature for a long period of time. I am guessing that most people know this, but if you do not, that's absolutely fine. I'm glad you're here. So what's so great about it? Because of this low, slow method, they're a great way to break down larger cuts of meat or foods that are not generally tender, to tenderize them, and a great way for flavors to all blend together through the low and slow cooking process. And here's an example of some slow cooker honey lime chicken tacos. Again, you can scan or not, your choice. All right, next. Is a slow cooker and a pressure cooker the same thing? Type your guess in the chat, yes or no. Is a slow cooker and pressure cooker the same thing?
We've got a lot of no's so far.
I see that. And if you see me turning to the left, that's because I'm looking at your answers on they're coming up on my screen on the side here. So lots of no's. Okay, we've got a smart group. They are not the same thing. However, that Instant Pot Duo on the left also slow cooks. Now, does it do a good job of it? I would say no. And we're going to talk about that next. But no, they are not the same thing. Okay, very good. Let's keep going, Tina. Okay. Is a crock pot and a slow cooker the same thing? See, I'm keeping you on your toes this morning, right? Yes or no? Is a crock pot and a slow cooker the same?
Got a lot of yeses so far.
All right, we're all on the same page. So yes, a crock pot is a type of a slow cooker. Crock pot is a brand name. That's what they look like. We've all seen them, but they are a slow cooker. Yes, that is correct. All right, let's keep going. So I just want to show this. My first crock pot looked like this. I wonder if anybody's got one of these in their basement or on their shelf. I bet they do. I still have one, somebody said, Angela said, yes. So this is, remember, so if you've known crock pots for a while, they used to be decorated really beautifully, and they had all sorts of, you could get them flowers, or you could get them plaid, or you could get them in different colors. All of a sudden now the slow cooker manufacturers are making them all stainless steel. Personally, I don't love it. They get fingerprints all over them. They're much harder to clean. But I guess that's the style of today. But I think this is funny because my crock pot is selling as a vintage crock pot for $99 on eBay. Isn't that funny? I think that's so funny. So anyway, that's what they used to look like. They still work. They're a little bit different. We'll talk about how they differ in a few minutes. All right. Somebody's laughing. Time to sell. Yeah, I agree, Angela, time to sell. So what's a multi-cooker? So a multi-cooker differs from a slow cooker. It does it all. It can pressure cook, slow cook, saute, steam. It can be a rice cooker, a yogurt maker. It times things. I do not have one of these. This is $279. I would never buy one of these, but some people do. And they do a lot of different things. And possibly it may function better as a multi-cooker than the Instant Pot that I showed you a few slides back. The Instant Pot Duo, which is what I have, has a slow cooker setting, but it doesn't work very well. You still have to put the lid on to make it work. You turn your sealer so that it's venting, but it doesn't do the same thing in my opinion. Maybe this multi-cooker for $279 would work as well as my $10 crock pot, but I'm not going to find out. All right, let's keep going. So price range for slow cookers is all over the board right now. You can buy a slow cooker from $20 for a 4-quart, or if you get one at like a church rummage sale or somewhere else, you might be able to get it cheaper on upwards of $300. So here's a 7-quart slow cooker for $33 by Crock-Pot. And then this one, I believe, was called All Clad. This is from the company All Clad, $279. So the most important thing is consider what you're going to be cooking. If you live alone, 1 or 2 people, you don't need a huge slow cooker. Maybe you just want a 4-quart. If you don't need a lot of jazzy features, if you're not leaving your house and you want the timer to go off in 4 hours and you need it to simmer and saute, you probably don't need a multifunctioning slow cooker. So when you're thinking about buying your slow cooker, think about what features you need. The one on the bottom has high, low, I can't see it, maybe medium and off, no timer. Those work perfectly fine. If the next step up is getting one with a timer. So whatever suits your budget and whatever you need, you can still make all of these recipes and cook well in a $33 or $20 crock pot.
Someone mentioned they got a slow cooker at Aldi that's easy to use and clean with a ceramic insert, which makes a big difference in cleaning it.
Oh, 100%. Thank you for mentioning that. The ceramic insert's really important because those old slow cookers, as you remember, for a while, for on many of the models, the middle didn't come out. Now in my blue one, it does, but in some of them, it didn't come out. So you had to wash it and stay away from the electrical element and all of that. So you definitely want one with an insert. So yep, thank you for mentioning that. I got my a rice cooker at Aldi as well. All right, somebody's ahead of us. Judith is on it today. She's already answered the question. So this is actually a poll. So Isabel or Tina is going to bring up this poll and it's going to ask you, how old is your slow cooker? So new, I just bought it this year, less than 5 years old, less than 10 years old, more than 10 years old, more than 20 years old.
So far, almost a third of our participants have answered so far, and the winner at this point is more than 10 years old, with a tie between less than 5 years and less than 10 years.
And somebody just bought one, and somebody has one more than 20 years old. Very cool. Very cool. All right. That's great. All right. So what we're going to talk about today goes for all slow cookers, whether they're 20 years old or whether they are brand new, for the most part. And I'll tell you when it doesn't. So how old is your slow cooker? Let's keep going. So let's talk about advantages. With a slow cooker, you can save money. They are energy efficient and they use way less energy than heating up that huge box of an oven for several hours. Now, they save time. Even though slow cookers take a long time to cook food, they're losing less energy and it's really hands-off cooking, allowing you to fix it and forget it for the most part. what I like doing with it, there's only 2 people in my household, but I like cooking a large batch. I noticed people mentioned in the chat earlier, things like soup and chili and all that. I like cooking a large batch and then freezing. I think it's a great appliance for freezing or for cooking and then freezing or storing. You get a lot of flavor out of your vegetables and out of your meat when you allow it to cook through the longer cooking process. And it allows you to watch your pocketbook by buying lower fat cuts of meat that are generally healthier because they are lower fat, and to cook them in a way that they're tender. And I will say easy to use, not complicated dials or buttons, unless you buy the $279 model. And if you do, keep the manual close by your side because it is probably going to be more complicated. But for the most part, they can be very easy to use. All right, let's flip. So we're going to talk about food safety for the next couple slides because there are some things before you start slow cooking that you need to know about keeping food safe in a slow cooker. Now, in general, a slow cooker is going to cook foods between 170 and 280 degrees. And we know that that low heat helps food become more tender and shrink less. But what you want to do whenever you're cooking, whether it's in a slow cooker or not, is to keep your food out of the danger zone. So the food safety danger zone is between 40 degrees and 140. So what happens if I put a 4-pound frozen roast in my crock pot or slow cooker? And Diane, I'll answer you in a second. So does anybody want to guess in the chat why it would be unsafe to put a 4-pound roast whole that is frozen in my slow cooker? Why is it not a good idea to put a large chunk of frozen meat in a slow cooker? Do we have any? Yep, you're getting it, in danger zone. Food poisoning, not cooked through. Yes, it's impossible to get that frozen meat up to temperature quickly. So that means for several hours in your crock pot, that roast that's frozen at 0 degrees is going to be, parts of it, between 40 and 140 for more than a couple hours. And that's where bacteria multiply, and that's where you can get sick. So we're going to talk in the next couple slides about not putting whole pieces of meat, like large, into your crock pot that come from frozen. All right. So the other thing I want to mention on that last slide, just at the bottom, you don't need to go back, Tina, is that older slow cookers used to cook things. Wait, go back for 1 second, Tina. Just want to make sure. Slide before. Nope. Yeah. Older slow cookers did not used to get as hot as they do now. So has anybody noticed that has that 20-year-old crock pot? I wonder if that person has a newer one too. That the new crock pot cooks things really fast. That's on purpose. That's just to make sure that we're getting our food up to temperature more quickly than when slow cookers were designed 20 years ago. So yes, they do cook faster, and you might have to adapt your recipe. If you're using your old favorite recipe, it's going to be done quicker in a new slow cooker. All right, thank you, Tina. All right, so just remember for safe cooking in a slow cooker, start clean. Clean hands, utensils, surfaces, and a clean cooker. This goes without saying. Many of us store our slow cookers in cupboards, in basements. I have a dog. Every time I lift my slow cooker off the shelf, it always has a few dog hairs in it. So it's always a good idea to start with a clean slow cooker as well as clean hands. Remember to thaw your meat safely first if you're cooking a meat-based dish. If frozen pieces are used, they can't get out of the danger zone quick enough. Now, Diane asked me, is this danger zone info going to be on the summary sheet? Yes, I will put it on the summary sheet. We design those after class, so thank you for asking. One thing you want to do that people don't think about, I think, is preheat your slow cooker. So if you turn your slow cooker on, add some broth or whatever you're cooking in, and we're going to talk about liquids in a minute, that helps it get to temperature quicker and to get your food out of the danger zone more quickly. So if you're cooking meat or poultry, it's a good idea to maybe turn your slow cooker on, throw in your broth, and then maybe you're chopping vegetables, maybe you're browning meat in another pan if you want to do that extra step, or not while the liquid is heating up. All right, next. Couple of tips from USDA. And now this tip, I will tell you, this first tip I found interesting. I've never done this myself. It says to always soak your beans overnight and boil them. I always soak overnight and boil them at least 10 minutes before placing them in a slow cooker. And that is to deactivate, I believe it's some type of enzyme. I can't remember, that if the beans aren't cooked properly can give you like a horrible stomach ache and make you sick. So I don't know about that. I have cooked dry beans in the slow cooker without boiling them first, but this is what USDA says, so I put it on there. Keep the lid on. We always want to lift it up, right? Because it smells really good and we want to lift it up and we want to taste it, but we don't want to taste it till it's fully cooked. And we want to absolutely, if you're cooking meat, chicken, any kind of poultry, turkey, fish, test your food with all of it with a food thermometer. So if you don't have a food thermometer, you can get one for about 10, 15 bucks at Walmart or Meijer. I'd suggest you get one. It's really important to help you not prepare food that's going to make you sick. Don't forget to cool food properly. I know a lot of people make a big batch of chili, then they unplug it, and then they go watch, the Super Bowl or whatever else is going on, and you forget that crock pot is unplugged and you've got a huge dish sitting there coming to room temperature. Don't let it cool down in the crock pot. If you make a huge dish in your crock pot or slow cooker, the safest way to cool that down is to put it in multiple shallow containers. Now it's tempting to take that big crock pot of chili, to leave the lid on and put it in your refrigerator, right? I see a couple nods. It is tempting, but it is not the safest way to do it. The safest way to do it is to put it in shallow containers so it can get to that cooler temperature more quickly. Otherwise, it's in that 40 to 140. The other thing is don't reheat in a slow cooker. That's not what it's meant for. And don't ever cook food on warm. There's a warm setting on most slow cookers. It will be in that danger zone far too long. The warm setting is designed to keep cooked food. So if it's already been cooked in your slow cooker, you can turn it down to warm, but you never start or cook on warm. All right, next, thank you. So yes or no, do you own a food thermometer? Type the answer in the chat. And Diane, I like your tip. I'm gonna share that in a second. So a lot of people own food thermometers. That's good. Most of us need one at Thanksgiving. I feel like some people just take it out annually when they're checking their turkey. But it's a good idea to take it out more often than that. And somebody has a tip for cooking beans. I add a teaspoon of baking soda to my beans while they're cooking, cuts the gas. Yes, great idea. I see that in a lot of recipes and I have done that too. Thank you for that tip, Diane. All right, so most people have a food thermometer, so no new info there. Great, you're doing fabulous on the food safety. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's get into some tips for slow cooking. And we're gonna get into all of our recipes at the end. So tips for slow cooking. If you want to cook meat, you can cook plant-based or vegetarian, but if you're going to cook meat, you can use less expensive cuts. And food is expensive right now, and meat is off the charts, I think, expensive. And one great thing about a slow cooker is you can cook these tougher cuts of meat, which often can be a little bit healthier because often they have less fat in them. So a chuck roast has quite a bit of fat in it, but a rump and a round roast, not so much. Shank and briskets, and you can also trim extra fat on the outside or skim before serving. So when you cook in a slow cooker, I often see that all of that fat rise if it's meat, right? So you can skim all of that right before serving, or my husband always says, leave a little bit in. He likes to make sure that there's a little bit in there, for flavor. Another tip is not to overfill the pot. They are not meant to be filled to the top. So if you need to make a huge batch of chili, make 2 separate batches or get a larger slow cooker. They're not meant to cook to be filled all the way to the top. There usually is a max fill line. Now we're going to talk a lot about vegetables in the next couple slides. So sometimes I'm a lazy cook when it comes to a slow cooker, and sometimes I time my vegetables as they go in to get them to be the perfect texture. Because vegetables don't always cook at the same rate, right? So if I put an asparagus spear in a crock pot next to a chunk of sweet potato, that asparagus, and I wouldn't, because to me that sounds horrible together, but say I did, the potato is going to be raw and the asparagus is going to be cooked. So we're going to talk, and I'm going to show you a little bit about different vegetables and how fast or slow they cook. But in general, dense vegetables go on the bottom. That would be potatoes, turnips, rutabagas, anything hard, and I see some Brussels sprouts on there, although they'll cook a little bit faster. Beets on the bottom, and then more delicate vegetables on the top. And then kind of the meat if you're going to use it in between. And then we mentioned this before, don't eat, leave the lid on, and keep an eye on what you put on the sides of the crock pot, because that's where it gets the hottest. So whatever you put on the side, especially straight across from the control panel, is the hottest spot in your slow cooker. So don't put tender vegetables over there. They're going to go on top or on the other side. All right, let's look at our veggie slides next. So this will be in the summary sheet because I know you can't memorize all this, but in general, the ones on the left take longer to cook. Now, onions don't take long to cook, but the longer they cook, the more flavor they give to a slow cooker dish. So that's why they're on the left side. Somebody said turnips, rutabagas, are these a middle range cooking time? Hang on, I'm going to talk about that. Onions, beets, dry beans, we know that's a long cooker for sure. So here's the answer. There is no 100% right or wrong about any of these things. It depends on the texture that you want and like. Now, if you look up recipes that are slow cooker recipes, they're always throwing the potatoes in early. I don't throw potatoes in till much later in the process because I don't want them to totally disintegrate if I'm making like a beef stew. And it also depends on the potato. Potatoes have different starch and moisture contents. So this is in general, but if you like something more crisp, or if you like a vegetable softer or more tender, you're going to play around with that. So Diane asked, turnips, rutabagas, are these a middle range cooking time? I would say maybe a turnip, depending on the size. Rutabaga, maybe, depending on the size again and how big you cut it. So it really depends on how big you're cutting your chunks of vegetables and also what texture you prefer. The good news is none of those are going to make you sick if they're undercooked, except for the dry beans. So if any of these are undercooked, if a vegetable is a little undercooked or cauliflower is a little undercooked, it's not going to make you sick or be a food safety issue, but you want to get it to the texture you like. All right, let's keep going, Tina. Oh, so under 2 hours, these are the more delicate: asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, okra, zucchini, and yellow squash. And near the end, these are things I most often throw in at the end. Some chopped bok choy, corn. It could be fresh, it could be frozen, it could be canned. Baby spinach or any kind of green like that. That's a tender leafy green, not like a collard. Frozen peas, canned hominy. Now, mushrooms is on this list because most of the articles about cooking in a slow cooker say that mushrooms get kind of tough and rubbery if you cook them for a long time in the crock pot. I don't agree with that, but I put it on this list because I did check several sources that said add them near the end. I like to add mushrooms early. I don't mind the texture they get, and I like them to cook for a long time. So again, this is personal choice. And that's what the note is. It depends on how tender or not you want your veggies to be. All right. So let's check in because I've been talking a lot for the past 5 slides. What is this vegetable? Now, this is a poll question, so wait till the poll comes up.
Half of our participants have voted, more than half now at this point, and the winner so far, everybody is voting, 84% right now is voting parsnip.
And they are correct. And Mary Palmer put it in the chat as well, and she is correct. That is a parsnip. If you've never had a parsnip before, and obviously these people have because they know what it is, it's a fabulous thing to cook in a slow cooker. Kind of an underrated vegetable, but they really come out beautifully in a vegetable stew, or you could add it to a slow cooker veggie chili. You can, if you're not cooking in your slow cooker, you can roast them with carrots and sweet potatoes. Just a really nice root vegetable that holds up very well in a slow cooker. Okay, so let's go through the rest of our 10 tips. So sometime when we cook in a slow cooker, and you don't have to answer this chat yet, but sometime when we cook in a slow cooker, the broth might be a little bit too runny. So you can thicken your sauce with flour or cornstarch. Now, I like to use cornstarch. I find it works better in a slow cooker. But should I just dump it into the, yes or no? Should I dump my flour or cornstarch directly into the slow cooker liquid? Pam says no, no, no. I see some no's. Mary says no. Tanya says no, no, no. So this is it. You're a savvy group. Yeah, no, don't do that. If you do that, you're going to have a lot of clumps in your slow cooker. So I tend to use cornstarch because I find it gets to the best consistency. So I will take some of the liquid out of the slow cooker, and then I will mix it with, it will be too hot to put the cornstarch into. So I will then mix maybe some room temperature broth or maybe even a little water, whisk it with a whisk till I get it smooth, and then put it back in. To make that flour come into a sauce, you could do the same thing. It will take a little more whisking because flour needs to have the fat to thicken. So maybe take some of the juice if you have maybe some oil or some meat or something in your crock pot. Hydrate that, or not hydrate that, stir that together outside with some liquid and then back in. Somebody asked me, when do you use agar? I do not know. I will say, I would love to know that answer. I have never used it. I wonder, Diane, if you use that because of an allergy, perhaps, or if you have time, Diane, type a little bit more in the chat about that. I've never used it at all. Okay, so if you're adding cheese on, like to make something cheesy on top, wait till the end. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of, it's going to break apart. The cheese is going to, the protein's going to separate from the fat. Reminder to not overcook. Some slow cookers cook faster than others. And if somebody said, isn't it cornstarch? You know what? I do not know the answer to that, but I'm going to ask Tina to look that up for us while we're going. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what that is. I've seen it on ingredient list multiple times. I know it's a thickener, but I'm not sure what it is. So hang on for that answer. And let's talk about slow cooker liners. Have you ever used a slow cooker liner? I see some no's. I see some yeses. So my mother-in-law uses slow cooker liners all the time. They sell them. It's a food safe plastic that you can line your slow cooker with so you don't have to clean it. You can make your chili. Angela Little says yes, she loves it. And then you don't have a lot of sticky mess or cleanup. So that's something you can explore. They sell them in boxes of like maybe like 5 or 6. I'm not sure. I have not used it. If you don't like cleanup, that might be something you might want to use. If you don't want to put more plastic in the environment, you can stay away from them. but it does help some people speed their cleanup. So let's hear our answer about the cornstarch, Tina.
So the question's in regards to agar-agar. It's a vegan-friendly substitute whenever a recipe would be called for gelatin, so a thickening agent in sauces or jellies. And according to ScienceDirect.com, it is a substance that is extracted from seaweed.
Seaweed, okay. Now that you say that, I did know that. That's one of those things that I think I learned in college years ago. So thank you, Tina. Tina's our registered dietitian on our team. Glad we have her on here today. And she's also teaching some upcoming really great classes. So you'll definitely want to sign up for those. So it is a seaweed. It is a thickener. Have not used it. I'd love to know how it works in something like this. Thank you for checking that, Tina. So last tip is expand your cooking repertoire. Try rice pudding, soup, mulled wine, spaghetti squash, applesauce, pumpkin butter, and more. Lots of things you can do with your slow cooker. All right. Next. How full should you fill your crock pot? We talked about this. 2/3 to 3/4 full. You have to have liquid to cook your food safely in a crock pot, or I keep calling it crock pot, but you know I'm talking about slow cooker. So water or liquid is necessary to create steam. The water level should cover the ingredients to ensure the heat transfer is adequate to heat that food to the right temperature. So make sure you're getting enough liquid in there. Liquids to consider adding or mixing in are listed here: water, broth, tomato juice, apple juice, cider, beer wine, bone broth, fruit juice from canned fruit mixed with broth, i.e. pineapple juice, miso mixed with water. Tell me in the chat what kind of things you like to add to your slow cooker recipes. What kind of liquids do you like to use in your slow cooker recipes? Water, broth. Cheap red wine. I do like the cheap. Thank you. Me too. Broth and tomato juice mostly. Yes, I have. Yep. Sometimes juice, sometimes water. Yeah, it depends on what I'm cooking. And if I have a little bit of leftover apple juice or cider, especially if it's like chicken or pork and I wanted to have sort of a little sweetness to it, maybe I'm adding some apples and some cabbage or something like that. That's when I'll go for like apple juice or cider or fruit juice. So also just used water or broth. Pretty boring. And I don't think that's boring, Tanya. It sounds like it works for you. I think that's good. So always check the manufacturer's directions on your slow cooker, but again, 2/3 to 3/4 full for liquid.
And then Chris, someone had a question about making bone broth in their crock pot. They use bones first until they get a light brown, then slow cook on stovetop with water.
Could you make bone broth? I roast my bones first. Yeah, I don't know why you couldn't. Could you make bone broth in a crock pot? I roast my bones first until they get a light brown, then slow cook it. If you got them to, the bones are really dense, right? And they're heavy. So it depends on what kind of bone it is. So my question would be about the food safety with bone broth in a crock pot. So I don't feel comfortable giving that a definite yes, not knowing how big the bones are and how long it takes them to get to temperature. I think you might be better off on the stove top. You can also make bone broth in an instant pot too, if it's large enough. So, yeah, I don't know on that. So I would have to double check on the bone broth. And then Angela said people use coconut milk, I think. Yes, coconut milk is very popular in a lot of dishes nowadays, and that can also be added too. And then beef broth from butcher cracked, beef bone from butcher cracked. Oh, I'm sorry, Diane. Beef bone from butcher cracked. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sounds like a good idea, but I worry about the food safety. So if you can get to temperature quickly and stay at temperature, yes. All right. Are the recipes adaptable for type 1 or 2 diabetes? Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so how to clean a slow cooker real quickly. Turn your slow cooker off. I think everybody knows that. Unplug it. I hope everybody knows that. Let it cool first. If you have a dishwasher, you know, and you can clean the lid and the removable stoner in the dishwasher, do it. It's the safer way to clean. If you don't use abrasive scouring pads. Use a sponge, a cloth, or a rubber spatula. Remove the stubborn spots on your slow cooker, and then scrub with one of these softer items so you don't take the finish off of your crock. You can soak your crock first in hot soapy water. If the food is stuck or sticky, we do that a lot. My husband is a big soaker, and things can sit there for hours. Do not wash the stoneware with cold water when it's hot. That can crack. So if you're doing everything according to food safety, you cooked your chili, you're putting it in separate containers to put it in the freezer, your crock pot's still smoking hot, don't run cold water in it right away. It can crack the ceramic. So let it cool a little bit. And do not ever immerse the heating base in water or other liquid. That can be dangerous. And this is just a picture of a microfiber cloth. All right, next. Okay, so this is what I clean my crock pot with, or slow cooker. This is just a funny one. What is this called? Wait until the poll and choose the answer. It's funny on my end. I can see how people are voting. I like it changing. It's going up and down and up and down. So okay, I like this. So I put one stumper in here for people, I think. Okay, let's see. Go ahead, Tina.
Oh, I think we did stump because previously 70% of people voted, and this time less than 50% voted in this poll. And our winner is Scrub Daddy, but only just beat out Happy Scrub.
Okay, so I put this on here because, so this is a Scrub Daddy. So yes, you guys were right. Stumped some of you. This is a fabulous cleaning tool. I saw this on Shark Tank, the man who invented these. I don't know if anybody ever watches Shark Tank, but it's a really great cleaning tool. It doesn't scratch any of your pots, and it gets really soapy, and you can put it in the dishwasher. They do cost, I think, like $4 each, but they last a very long time. The Scrub Mommy has a soft side. This is the daddy. The daddy is the same on both sides. The mommy has a soft side, and all the other names were made up. But this is a great tool to clean your slow cooker. All right, let's go on. All right, so now we're going to talk about recipes. So I did put some recipes on here that are not dinners. So, and here are two of them because I want people to know that that you can also cook breakfast in cook other things in slow cookers. And I mentioned this on a few slides. So if you use your scanner, your phone, to scan the QR code, there are two different recipes here for a pumpkin pie slow cooker oatmeal and then just a regular slow cooker oatmeal. So these are both with steel cut oats. Steel cut oats are fabulous. They're very high in fiber. So all oats are good for you, whether they're steel cut or quick oats or even whole rolled oats, they're still good for you. But steel cut oats take longer to cook. It's like brown rice takes longer to cook. It's in its more whole grain state. So these are two recipes for a slow cooker oatmeal. Again, you will get these on the summary sheet as well, or you can scan them now. What we do with our summary sheets, just to let people know, is after the class, I prepare the summary sheet. A week from now, it goes up on our Bronson Eats website, and then you can get the recipes there. So if you can't use the scanner, it will take a week to get them. I'm also thinking I might be able to I think what I'll do in this case today, because this QR code thing is so new, is we'll send a follow-up email to everybody in the class just with the link to these recipes so you can get them quickly. All right, so try the oatmeal sometime. It works really great. This is a slow cooker sweet potato chili. I put this is a vegetarian recipe and a really good one. It is packed with sweet potatoes, which are rich in vitamin A. It's packed with black beans, which are a great source of vegetarian protein. It's got tomato, fabulous source of lycopene and vitamin C, a lot of really good spices, and a pretty easy recipe to make. So slow cooker sweet potato chili. Does anybody put sweet potatoes in their chili? Tell me yes or no in the chat. I like them. I love sweet potatoes in chili. Now they do give it a sweeter taste. I'm seeing a lot of no. Chili, I feel like it's sort of like lasagna. People are very picky about what they put in their chili and will tell you like, nope, I don't do that. But this is something to try. It goes really well with some of the warmer spices that are in this recipe. Cumin and coriander and maybe even a little bit of cinnamon is something to try. All right, next. So this is a skinny veggie lasagna. And if you have never made lasagna in your crock pot, you can, and it actually comes out really nice. Now, does it look pretty? No. Does this look pretty? Not really. Does it cut like a beautiful lasagna that cuts in a perfect square? No. But is it easy and tasty and delicious? Absolutely. So if you've never tried this, you can make it with the no-cook noodles. You can make it with the regular noodles. You just want to make sure that you have enough liquid in your crock pot. When I make a veggie lasagna in a crock pot, I even add a little bit of extra water down the sides. I'll just kind of pour it down the sides to make sure that the edges don't burn. But have you ever made lasagna in the crock pot? Yes or no? Tell me that in the chat. Not yet. Esther says no. Angela says no. Nope. Okay, so this is one to try. And also what's good about this recipe is you can add meat to it or not. You can add ground chicken, you could add ground turkey, you could add ground beef, or you could make it 100% vegetarian. So just a fun recipe to try in your crock pot sometime. And remember, it's not about the looks, because when you take it out, it's going to look more like a pasta dish, but it really has a great taste. So, all right, let's keep going. Here is a stuffed pepper recipe, which you can make very easily in your slow cooker. Give you a couple minutes, you can scan that one. Again, I'll be sending them out. And this is really easy to do. This recipe has uncooked quinoa in it. So if you have never had quinoa before, this is a good recipe to try it with. Quinoa is a whole grain. It has all of the proteins you need to make protein in your body, which many whole grains don't. And it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to use. So this has some quinoa, some beans, a little bit of cheese on top, and some really healthy and nutritious peppers. I would put a little tomato sauce on this myself, which is not in this, but I like to have a little sauce on mine. So.
Chris, there were a few people that said they did not care for quinoa in the chat. Could they replace it with brown rice?
Yes, you could. So if you're going to make this according to this recipe, if you're going to make it with brown rice, if you're making it with traditional slow cooked brown rice, cook the rice first. If you're making it with Uncle Ben's or Aldi quick cook brown rice, kind of like the minute brown, I don't think they call it minute, but the quick cook brown rice, you can put it in raw. And always with that, whenever you're putting in a raw grain like that, you want to make sure you've just got enough moisture to help it to cook. But you could do it with the quick cooking brown rice. Otherwise, cook your brown rice first. All right. Did you already suggest soaking the quinoa? No, I did not. I do not soak my quinoa. Angela Little is asking me, did I suggest soaking quinoa for those who think they don't like it? No, I do not soak quinoa. So if you've never had it before, I'm going to let Angela unmute and talk for a second. But I want to hear why soaking makes her like it more. So when you buy quinoa, it can come in a box, it can come in a bag. It's dry and it's smaller than brown rice, and it looks like a little circle, basically. And you always want to rinse it, because sometime, I think maybe that's what Angela means by soaking. You don't need to soak it. but you should rinse it because there is it just has a sort of a tannic taste on the outside that if you take your quinoa directly from the box or package and cook it, it's not going to hurt you, but it's going to taste a little more bitter. So rinsing it with some cold water first, and it'll tell you that on most packages. Is that what you were talking about, Angela? Yes, okay, yes, so not soaking, but rinsing, yep. Okay, good. So, all right, well, we got 7 minutes left. Let's see if we covered everything we should. What's a slow cooker? Yes, we talked about that. Cooks food slow, allows us to fix it and forget it. Tenderizes cheaper cuts of meat, great for cooking dense vegetables. We talked about how it can be healthier. Yes, we can add lots of veggies to all of our dishes. We can use a low sodium broth. We can make a lot of plant-based dishes. We talked about some advantages and disadvantages. We talked about buying and storing. I also shared healthy recipes using the QR code. If that didn't work, I want to know about that. And I want people to think about what they're going to do with their slow cooker this month. So before we leave today, I want to ask people, did people scan those QR codes while we were doing this presentation? And be honest, because if this doesn't work for people, I want to know about this. Somebody said some, I see some yeses. QR code did not work for me. No, some yeses. Okay, sorry. Somebody said yes, they sure did. Now, QR code did not work for me. I tried the photo. Okay, if you are red, if your name is red, stay on at the end of this and we'll go through it one more time and try it one more time because we're wrapping up right now. If you want to, if you have time to. So with that, so again, I will make sure everyone gets these recipes. This QR code thing is new. It saves us from, if I put all the recipes up step by step, you would be looking at 20 slides of ingredients and directions, which I think would be hard for people to pay attention to for that long. So I wanted to give you more recipes and different ways to access them. But again, I want to know if it works or doesn't work for you. And I will make sure we send them out to you with the links. So to wrap up, and red might stay on and they might not, but if you do, we'll play around with your phone for a minute. Oh, somebody said they're watching on their phone. Several people are watching. 2 people are watching on their phone. Somebody said they like to print recipes, and when flipping slides quickly, it doesn't give me time to do that. Yeah, that was sort of a trade-off, because if we put the recipes up step by step, again, it takes, you can't put it all on one PowerPoint slide. So I'll think on that in the future. Thank you for that suggestion, Angela. Oh, it was Angela. Okay, perfect. So we'll work on that. All right. So slow cooker goal for the month. Is anybody going to cook anything in the slow cooker this month? Are you going to do anything with your slow cooker? Are you going to buy a slow cooker? Are you going to clean your slow cooker? What from this presentation will you take away with you and do? Somebody said they will take it on vacation. Somebody said they will try to cook lasagna. Somebody's going to try the sweet potato chili. Going to try a new recipe this week, make more, cook recipes. So be thinking, the whole point of us doing these classes is to just give people ideas and ways to eat and be healthier. So we really hope that you enjoyed the class. We hope you take away at least one little nugget today. I think you will. I want to show you very quickly about some upcoming classes we have. Tina, will you flip to that slide? Okay, so we've got a couple classes coming up in February. And if you have not already enrolled for these classes, you can do this by just simply Googling Bronson Eats. It will take you to a page that's in our Bronson website where you can click on register for any of these classes. You can scan this QR code that will take you to the same place. And these are the classes. So the classes that are listed in green are actual healthy cooking classes. So in those classes, we are standing in a kitchen and preparing something. So I'm teaching the sheet pan shawarma class. That will be in my kitchen. We're going to learn how to make sheet pan shawarma in 30 minutes. The classes that are in black are like this class. We're not cooking, but we're often talking about healthy eating, how to take care of your mental and physical health, how to be more physically active, etc. So we encourage you to sign up for any and all of these classes. Next one is February 1st. After that is February 2nd. I'm going to leave that screen up so people can do with it what they will. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. It was great to have all 38 of you in this class. And if Red wants to stay on, we'll try one more time with the camera. We'll walk through it and I'll see if I can help you with it. And thanks everybody else. I hope to see you in February at another class. Thanks again.
Hey, Chris, this is Joanne. And that you said this classes would be recorded and
Yes.
up on the website. Will that healthy cooking shawarma class also be up on the website?
We teach those in partnership with Region 4 Area Agency on Aging, and they post them on their website. Is this Joe Flowers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. I can't see in my panel on the side, but I recognize your voice. So yes, they go on their website, and in fact, they just sent us, they're putting them in a new place. And if Isabel, are you still on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Joe, I can send you the email that has their new area agency on aging a link that they post them to. So they just had to change some things around on the YouTube page, and there was under construction for a little while. So I will send you that link so you can see the recording of that sheep pan shawarma class.
Okay, fantastic. Because I want to be here, but that's the beginning of tax season, so Wednesdays are not good for me. And that, so
I'll send it to you right now, Joe.
okay,
Good to see you.
thank you.
Yeah, I think we've got your email address. Now I see somebody asked about, have gastroparesis, cannot have high fiber, can white rice be okay? I don't know if that person's still on. Hope, are you still on? No, okay. Could you send me this link too? Isabel, are you seeing those other chats in there? Could you send me this link too?
Yes, I just saw that.
Could you put it in the chat, or do we have Jeannie can you look up Janine Hamilton's email from sign up?
Yes. Yep, I can get that email.
So Janine Hamilton wants the link. I'm just going to go through the chat here. Everybody's saying have a good day. I agree. This is going to be a good day. Red, okay. Okay, perfect. All right, Red, did you stay on? Let me look at the participants and see. Yes, Red is still on. Ask to unmute. So if you are on this and your username is Red, I just sent you an email that asked you, or I just sent you